we have this meeting today. Because the Secretary General and his amazing team, gender balance by the way, understood that democracy is under threat. As women's rights are pushed back, and that was a long procedure, this is exactly the same procedure happened with our democracy. Slowly, silently, here we are now. My democracy matters. And I believe it does. It is not a goodie, as we discussed with my great friend. It is something that we need, shall I use it? Rebrand as Coca-Cola. But I think we need to understand that gender backsliding is a democratic backsliding. Gender equality is a cornerstone of democracy and is now under attack as one of its crucial values. Healthy democracy requires inclusion. Attacks against women's rights are attacks against democratic values. And this is the moment that I would like to say, you always stay in my heart, don't forget. We are coming from the same party family, by the way. The systematic targeting of women has a direct implication for democracy. It aims to frighten women away from the public arena, ultimately harming their effectiveness and representation. It pushes away women from public life. And there is a toxic masculinity in Hungary. Women do not want to run for position any longer because they don't feel comfortable anymore. And of course, in Europe, women politicians have reported leaving social media or even public life due to the constant abuse and smear campaigns. In fact, it has a chilling effect of freedom of expression. When half of the population is targeted, intimidated, democratic debate suffers. Thank you very much, dear Mayor. You really showed that democracy still matters. And of course, persons who are targeted by gender misinformation attacks by a heavy price, psychologically, physically, socially, and economically. Let's talk a bit about the country's specific challenges, East and West. Hungary. Perfect propaganda machine. A state-aligned media empire has been leveraged to smear and intimidate women who oppose the government. A 2020 report by hashtag She Persisted found ruling party figures and their media surrogates spreading coordinated disinformation about female opposition leaders. Common tactics include character assassination. Women activists and politicians are painted as unqualified, stupid, or unfit for office and accused of misusing funds. Female human rights advocates are branded as foreign-funded traitors like to Soros, feeding nationalist narrative. High level of disinformation about LGBTI persons and the threat they would represent for the so-called traditional family values. And the bottom line, our core value of democracy, equality, and social justice are under attack. And if we let the backsliding happen, it will bring us back 100 years ago, and I'm not joking. We have to fight back and not to be complacent, so let's organize, let's fight. But we need to change the narrative. It should not be smart and nice. We really need to fight to keep these values alive. And we need to put emotion. You need to put your hearts into. You need to be easy and use as simple language as possible because our women are threatened with disinformation. We should not let it alone. Dear Secretary General, let's make it happen that the Council of Europe is securing all the citizens, women, men, LGBTIQ, Roma, and whatever, it doesn't matter, because my democracy matters. Thank you very much.
We at Justice for Prosperity, we run an intelligence and security service for good. We support NGOs, human rights defenders, journalists, scientists that are under siege. We do not debunk. We do not produce counter-narratives. We want to stay left of bang, upstream, because what we see in our field investigations, in our OSINT, in the scraping of all the social media platforms that we do, we look at clouds of polarized debate with a high level of toxicity, and with this very simple thing, and maybe the hackathon can take advantage of this simple feature. So the cloud of toxicity with a large component of the in and out group thinking, you're with me or you're against me, you go back in time. You pass the influencers and the multipliers, and then you come to the fire starter. Our work globally. There's real people with real interests. It's money and power. It's very simple. So what we do for this group of NGOs that we serve and the global intelligence units that we have built, because these NGOs are under attack, they're losing funds because governments see no alternative but to cut, not only because of savings, but because it's not popular to support woke topics like SRHR, like the LGBTQ community. It is it's like a toxic thing that you can't touch anymore as a government, either because they're extreme right already, like Orban, or it's because they don't want to be seen by the voters as affiliated with the woke topics. Those are what we call the useful idiots. They make the fear-mongering of the second group, which is the populist political layer, visible in the streets, setting asylum seeker centers on fire because allegedly a small girl was raped, which was not true. There is interest in starting that false narrative. So the second group benefits from the first, and then the third group that we investigate are the ultra-conservative, often religious organizations, starting with Christian right, but very, very much now crossing the aisle, also closing deals with members of the OIC and infiltrating in the African Union. And then the final group that we have tried to leave out as long as possible is the group of the oligarchs and the industrials, making a hell of a lot of money out of the hate. And I used to explain that we have people like Konstantin Malovev, the Russian oligarchs, etc., making money. But now Musk has done that work for me. I don't have to explain or persuade you to believe. So the question earlier, is this only East? Are we underestimating Russia in this component? I think we are underestimating the subversive powers from the United States and from the EU. Keep this topic in mind. Demographic decline, homeschooling, these are the new topics they go to. Demographic decline is a beautiful topic for them. Gay don't have children, blame it on the gay. How many children are killed because of abortion? That's bad for your economy because the labor capital goes down. It is extremely worrisome that now the European organizations are funding Africa organizations to get set up, train them legally how to slap, how to get a new kill the gay bill like the Uganda bill. They get consultation how to get a consultative status in the African Union. These are real people with real interest and do not shy away from, using the American machine to put diplomatic pressure on countries so that they sign the Geneva Consensus Declaration. If for those of you, maybe the young people that don't know what it is, please look it up. So I will try to wrap it up because I see my time is up. I want to warn you to please take this seriously and to talk with your capitals or wherever you go and to explain to people that even though the LGBTQ community and the SRHR professionals and women are the first to suffer, like the canary in the coal mine, this is not about gender equality, this is not about discrimination, this is about national security. I'm a former intelligence officer. I can smell it. This is an attack on your democracy, on your democratic stability. Take this seriously, please, and when you speak with governments or when you speak with people about this, make sure that they understand that the long-term goal for these 4 actor groups that I just mentioned is not to reduce the presence of LGBTQ. No, it is for more power and more money. So I will just quit now with thanking the Secretary General and others here to having us and to be bold and brave enough to listen to us, because the messages are very uncomfortable. Think about Tbilisi Pride, the disinformation channels from the extremists are there, Alt-Info, the industry interests of the natural gas pipelines are there. Please take a close look at how Russia knows, and again, this is not only about Russia, this is also about EU and US components, how they shifted the mindset and the country from EU accession to pro-Russia.
After your interventions, it's really difficult to deliver another intervention that would be so inspirational. But I truly believe that policy work can be as well as inspirational. So I will walk you through the work of the committee that I have such an honor to chair, and I also have my colleagues over there from the committee, which I applaud. So the committee is a steering committee for Media Information Society, and the role of the committee is to steer the work within the field of media freedom of expression, media pluralism, safety of journalists, and all related information society issues. We are the ones who have the role also to advise the Committee of Ministers and to alert them to emerging issues that needs attention. And we have heard such inspirational and very disturbing, I might say, even interventions from our previous panelists. So over the past decade, the CDMSI has had a gender equality rapporteur. We introduced recently also a youth rapporteur and children rapporteur, just to have all of these dimensions extremely important when we have the standard setting work. We also have a method of working which I believe allows us to stay on top of the trends and track what needs to be carefully looked into. So our method of work is 46 member states in one room with more than 20 member observers, such as, for example, European Broadcasting Union, and then Reporters Without Frontiers and European Journalists Association, and so on. This is just to depict a picture of how we work. So within one room, we just had our plenary the day before and the day before that. We discussed issues and we try to put out frameworks and high-end standard setting documents that member states can use to prevent and protect the freedom of expression, to protect freedom of expression and to prevent the harmful use of it. So just to take you through the standards that we have delivered over time and to depict the really visionary work that this committee has done in the past, I will just say that we produced a recommendation on gender equality in media in 2013 that sets out a really clear vision that media, traditional and digital, must reflect the diversity of society and actively counter gender stereotypes. Because gender equality is not a women's issue. It is a democratic imperative. And then In 2007, even earlier, we had the recommendation on media pluralism and diversity of content that recognizes that media shape public opinion and perceptions. Because when women are absent, misrepresented, or silenced in media narratives, which often happens, this undermines informed citizenship and distorts the public sphere. We have also, in 2011, had the recommendation of new notion of media. And in 2012, I think, was the year when proliferation of the social networks was very, very much what we all saw. So this was made to encourage states to embrace the opportunities of the digital environment and to promote gender-balanced participation in media production as well as the governments. But beyond these fundamental standards and foundational standards, we have also addressed how gender intersects with digital harms, including disinformation and hate speech. The recent recommendation, 2022-16, on combating hate speech explicitly calls for gender-sensitive responses. And our 2024 recommendation on countering SLAPs, strategic losses against public participation, recognizes that women journalists are disproportionately targeted with legal intimidation tactics that are designed to silence them. Just to illustrate the consequences of disinformation and democratic participation, I would like to refer to one deliverable of our work exactly, which was 2018 Media, Elections, and Gender Study. This study examined how women politicians are covered in electoral campaigns. The results were sobering. Women were not only underrepresented, but then they were also, when they were included, they were also often portrayed through a very narrow and stereotypical lens, focusing on their appearance, on family life, on personal traits, rather than on policy, leadership, and competence. This has concrete effects on voter perceptions and electoral outcomes. In short, biased or misleading portrayals, often amplified by disinformation, can discourage women not only from running for the office, but also being taken seriously when they do. So the disinformation, the gendered disinformation, particularly in politics, in journalism, or in activism even, tends to be sexualized, personalized, and emotionally charged. And we all know that when it happens online, the hate speech, we take it actually to the offline world. So most of us wake up and first thing we do, we check out phones. We also know that we, at least I do, spend around 5 hours on the phone, on different social apps, working or whatever is that we do. We also have our children on phones, usually for 5 hours a day. And I'm saying this as a media literacy practitioner as well. So the CDMSI constantly raises awareness about these threats and also incorporates media information literacy into the work, into all of our documents. And with deliverables that we have now and that we have discussed in previous 2 days, one of the deliverables is 10 steps to counter disinformation. We also have a document on media information literacy that will help member states form national strategies in media literacy. And we also have 2 expert committees, one dealing with implication of AI to freedom of expression, and the other one dealing with safety, online safety and empowerment of end users. So when we talk about the work, I would also like to just say that our reports, such as Journalists Under Pressure and Journalism at Risk, depict how particular vulnerable groups, such as women journalists, are prompt to online harassment, threats, and violence. And in all of our work, we promote a gender-sensitive approach. So this is why we call for education and for media literacy for all stakeholders, not only states, not only media, not only, so it needs to be a holistic approach and very thoughtful, continuous, holistic approach to media literacy that then everybody in his, her role should fulfill. So it's an everyday job. And if we ask what does it mean to us here today for Hackathon, it means that the work today for the teams is not only technical, it's a democratic work. So every algorithm that they write, design, create, every platform that we engage with actually is shaping the public space. So we have, and they have, the power to make the digital world more transparent, more inclusive, and more equitable. So for us, it's important not to normalize the disinformation and not to accept that online hate is the cost of participation. Because as we heard in the opening speech, the participation is a prerequisite for democracy. And the Council of Europe CDMSI committee practices this democracy at every plenary that we have, which I'm very proud of. We make our documents open to public for their public hearing and also to have that perspective and the tone. So to end my brief, hopefully, intervention, I would say that the prerequisite, the first step is forming a high-end standard-setting policy that needs to be translated into action within each member state. But personally, I think that each of us, whatever our role or chapeau is, being a chair of CDMSI, a member of CDMSI, a woman, a mother of 2 daughters, we need to practice it every day, the democracy. It needs to be a lifestyle. It's a long walk, but we all need to do it. So let's walk the walk. Thank you.